Redditors, have you ever gotten an ick from a potential partner or love interest that instantly killed your attraction to them? If so, what happened? In college, I was seeing a girl who lived in student residence with me, but on another floor. She would always talk about how another guy, Tom, on her floor was obsessed with her and would show me texts between them. She said she only talked to him because he's harmless and that they're friends. I never met him. After a week, her ex-friend from high school pulled me aside and told me not to trust her. She said that the girl I was seeing is a notorious liar and that Tom doesn't exist, that she added her own number in her phone as Tom, would text herself, and then delete the sent messages. The only reason her ex-friend knew is because she saw the text message exchange happen in the reflection of a mirror when they were in the same room. I was close with front desk and asked if they could look up the names from that floor. They said yes, and told me that there was no guy named Tom on her floor. I noped out of that real quick. My brief GF bought me some hair care products before she came over because it was right by her house. In return, I said I would go grocery shopping and make her a nice dinner. I thought this to be an even exchange. That night I found her looking through my trash for the receipt for the groceries to make sure that the $30 she spent on me was equal to the amount I spent on her dinner. Edit. Just to clarity before it becomes two man versus woman. I saw her parents do this to her. It was her upbringing. She did this in every aspect of her life, which gave me the ick, but she did not have very good role models. Dated a guy who seemed chill but kept talking about social media and how people/exes were scheming against him. I believed him at first until it got to a point where he thought things like a photo someone put up was an indicator that they were getting him back when these people were literally just doing normal things and posting normal stuff. I think he was schizophrenic, but it was really unsettling. Months later, he rang me out of the blue to ask me about a link between his ex, myself, and a friend. The link was butterflies, and because of this link, he thought we were conspiring against him. Realized he was faking seizures our entire relationship to get out of helping me do chores/cook meals. Edit. We dated for less than a year. Found out from his friends/family he never had a seizure in front of them. Came home one night after working a double. I asked him to please try to make dinner. Found him asleep and woke him up to let him know I was home/where's dinner. He said he had a seizure. This caused an argument where he admitted he faked it. He said his seizures were caused by flashing lights. Took him to countless doctors and no one could replicate what I saw all the time. After he admitted it, it finally clicked. He's been faking it the whole time. She started to set up the relationship in a way that made me her emotional punching bag, to where I was to blame for any bad feelings she had. Nothing I could do or say in those moments could ever help the situation, because that wasn't my purpose in her life. I was the distraction from her own issues she refused to acknowledge. Her extreme moods weren't because of her or her past, but it was because I said something the wrong way or laid on the clean sheets with a sweaty body. They came about when I realized, at 40 years old, that this has always been the pattern in my relationships with women, and it has everything to do with how my mom treated me. She had her own massive trauma from being horribly abused as a child, but used that as a shield to use me as her emotional and physical punching bag when she was in a bad mood. "You're not being abused, I was abused," was a line I heard constantly as she beat me on a regular basis. Once I saw that for what it was, it disgusted me. But it also changed how I handle relationships now. And now I'm happily married for 2 years to a wonderful woman who never does that to me. Went on a date with a guy I met at a party. He made me prove that I liked Lord of the Rings by answering who said what when he quoted someone. He pulled out a notebook of really poorly drawn anime characters and asked me if he could draw me. He was a lot shorter than me and asked if it bothered me. I said no, then he said, "Good, I like Amazonian goddesses." He kept trying to put his jewelry onto me despite my protests. He asked what I wanted to order for food, then ignored me and ordered me something else and got frustrated I didn't need it all. He referenced being arrested, made me guess what for, and when I refused to guess for not knowing him well enough, he said GBH. He was a trainee doctor and asked if I'd ever broken any bones. When I replied yes, he said that he was going to look up my x-rays. And the icing on the cake. When I wanted to leave, he got my knee-high boots, slipped them onto my feet and zipped them up and said you should always be treated like a goddess. My Morticia Adams. All one date. I went on a date with a seemingly nice guy in my early 20s. It went well, so after dinner, we cuddled in the back seat of his car in a quiet country area listening to music. He gently played with my hand and fingers and gave me a little massage, so relaxing. When he got to my wrist, he looked at it, flipped it around a few times, and says in a lustful voice, "It would be so easy for me to break this little thing right now." Edit. I said this in response to someone below. For you guys asking about what happened after, it was maybe 2007? I don't remember in detail what happened next. I kind of just played it off like, "Teehee, you're so strong," until he took me home. Kind of tried to de-escalate. So didn't acknowledge that statement too much. Just kept the conversation moving to something else and was careful to not embarrass or upset him. I didn't keep seeing him. I was busy for the next dates he asked me on, and then acted as boring as possible until he lost interest in me eventually. We went to college together and were in ROTC together, so avoiding was kinda hard. He started a relationship with someone else pretty quickly after that. I met a woman on Tinder a few years back and we hit it off really well. About a week after we had met, she deleted me and blocked me on all forms of social media with little to no explanation. I was texting her on my iPhone, and after she sent one last text, it went from iMessage blue to regular text green. After that, I messaged her again a few hours later and heard nothing. I checked my Snapchat, Facebook, and Instagram and couldn't find her anywhere. I panicked because I thought I had genuinely connected with her, but after a day or two, I calmed down and thought, if this is some kind of a test, I am out. FCK this high school bullshit. So I fired up Bumble and Tinder again, and matched with someone on Bumble who showed genuine interest in me and started an awesome conversation. The next morning, I got a text from the original woman, and she literally said, "I see you're back on Tinder. I made a fake account to see if you would get back on, and sure enough, there you are." I laughed to myself because I knew immediately I had dodged a massive bullet. I responded essentially saying, "Well, you blocked me on all social media and my number. How was I supposed to know you'd reach out?" She literally said, "It was supposed to be a test of your loyalty, and you failed." I can never be with someone who would start talking to other women immediately after something so trivial. I responded saying, "Alright, sounds good. Have a good one." Then blocked her myself. Oh, and the woman I began talking to on Bumble immediately after the first one blocked me? We will be celebrating 3 years of marriage, and 5 years total together this upcoming September. I went from a batched crazy woman to the most wonderful person I've ever met in my life. Talk about an upgrade.